What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Living Blessed, the podcast. I'm your host, Sevon J. Palmer, and as always, we got special guests coming on the podcast, sharing transformational and vulnerable moments. I got no other than my brother, Sevon Williams, on the pod. What's up, bro? How you feeling?
I'm blessed, living blessed,
living
blessed.
It, man. Appreciate you, man. I'm happy to have you, man. It's been a little minute, man. We trying to get you on for a little second, man. So, go ahead and introduce yourself, man. Tell the people about you, man, who you are and all the good jazz, and we're going to jump into it.
Yes, sir. So I am Sevon Williams, a.k.a. the father of success. I am a credit specialist as well as a financial literacy advocate. I do things in regards to creating digital products as well as tangible products that assist parents with interacting with their children and just learning tools. So, again, I'm happy to be here, and we have been waiting a while to do this together.
I'm happy to have you, man, but I got a question.
Yes, sir.
You said AKA father of success. Break that down for me.
Well, interesting, because when I named them success, I remember initially I told my mom, she was like, nah, don't do it. Don't do that. Don't do that. This is literally probably right before he was born. She's like, nah, don't do that. And I was like, nah, I'm doing it. That's going to be too much pressure. That's going to be too much pressure on him. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I feel like names, whatever you put into your child, you'll get out of them. So from the start, I already knew like that we was going to name him Success probably when he was 6 months into his mom's belly. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, father of success, it's the truth.
Got you. So how old are you right now?
29.
29.
Yes, sir.
Success is how old?
Just turned 3, December 21st.
Okay. So you had him at 26, 27?
26.
26.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like? Was he a child that y'all were trying to have, or was it just like an unexpected birth?
Unexpected birth. Because at the time, just my wife now, but my fiance at the time had just traveled to Kansas City. I was out in Kansas City working for the Social Security Administration. And literally, maybe the first month, once she had moved to Kansas City with me, months later, we found out she was pregnant. And so it's only me and her out there. Our entire family, or my entire family, is in Atlanta, and her mom travels. In regards, shout out to Mama B, but she travels with her job, so it was just us. So we kind of experienced the pandemic way before it was even a pandemic. Meaning, like, with it being so cold in Kansas when Success was born, not having any friends around, not being able to really go outside, we was just locked in. So
you're fresh to Atlanta.
Huh?
You're pretty fresh to Atlanta.
No. So I'm from Atlanta originally, but I went to Kansas City to work for the Social Security Administration in 2017. So Jess came in 2018 March. She came out there. We found out April. I remember it was around 4/20, 4/19. Found out she was pregnant. Success was on the way.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was like that. So, everything that we had planned prior to her coming, once she got there, we got settled in. It's like, okay, now we about to have a baby and we out here. How do we get back? Because the whole plan was after do a year in Kansas City, come back to Atlanta. So, now it's like, all right, now we really got to get back to Atlanta. But how are we going to be able to transition and get back? And obviously, we about to have a child out here in the middle of nowhere. So, yeah, it was different.
What were some of the challenges of parenthood at a young age?
I felt like it was challenges even prior to actually. Well, let me ask you this. Do you consider it parenthood when the child is still in the womb or once the child is birthed?
I say still in the womb. I don't have kids, so forgive me if I'm wrong. But I would say in the womb just because you're transitioning your mindset to become a parent. The moment you find out you're pregnant, somebody's pregnant, I believe like, oh crap. Because once upon a time I could have had a kid, and I was like, oh crap, I don't know how to be a father.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing when I found out. It's like, okay, we about to do this. But initially, I felt like I was already going through a transformation when I was out there by myself. I was like on this journey from living in the fast life, living in the city, to being in Leavenworth, Kansas, and I was living in a trailer with one of my coworkers, and that just happened from the grace of God, because initially I was staying in an Airbnb, just living in a room by myself, and I really just the way I ended up staying with my coworker was because I wanted to be able to propose. I needed to be able to save some money to be able to get the ring to propose to Jess. Mm-hmm. So being out there and literally, like I said, and this is what's interesting, my coworker, her son played for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So you would have initially thought that, okay, you know, we going somewhere. Yeah. Leavenworth, Kansas is the same place that Michael Vick got locked up at. That's the federal penitentiary. So everybody gets sent there. They also got the state of Kansas jail out there. So it's the Fed pen, the state pen, as well as the military. You get in trouble in the military, they send you to Leavenworth. So it literally was nothing out there. It's not a place. I would say it wasn't a place necessarily for me. However, my coworker, Miss Amy Angel, she heaven sent, because she always looked out for me. You know, always helped me any way she could, and likewise, I was able to help her do some things as well. And you know, we kind of like, what do they say? If you have a crutch, we was each other crutches. Held each other up in times that our family was apart from each, or we was away from our family.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the fast life. Let's go to that world. What was it like, man?
Yeah. So, man, just trying to figure it out, trying to make a way. I did not graduate from college.
Okay.
Back in school, when I was in school, I was going to other schools. And when I say other schools, my sister, she went to Prairie View A&M. So initially I started in Baltimore. That's where I met my wife, came down, or at that time was my girlfriend, came down back to Georgia State. So I'm back home. But I wasn't really going, like, I was in class, but I would leave class, go fly to Houston for a party for the weekend, because my sister in Prairie View. I go to fly to Houston. I come back on Tuesday, find out as soon as I get from the airport, I'm going straight to class. Oh, we got a test today, or we got a quiz today. I'm like, dawg. But I'm like, I was I know I learned more through experience, through traveling, through meeting other people. And that wasn't the only school. I was in Ole Miss. They used to call me the mayor, because I used to be in Stillwater, Oklahoma. Like, everybody know. My cousin played for the basketball team. Jeff Newberry played for the basketball team in the Big 12. So I was going out there. Sometimes I was out there. He didn't even know I was out there until I pulled up. He's like, I didn't know you was coming out here this weekend, or I didn't know you was coming out here. Yeah, so I was moving around, traveling, just not really focusing more so in school, because I already had 2 jobs at the time, and I already was staying on my own, had bills, had responsibility, and I just felt like, you know, what I'm learning right here is not really helping me. So I had to get out of that. I didn't say I had to get out of school, because I always said I wanted to finish, but I felt like me finishing school would have been just literally for my mama, not for me, because I knew, like, I should have stopped going to school probably a year prior before then. Like, I always feel like I wasted a year, or, you know, student loans. Yeah. I feel like I wasted a year just simply going back to try and prove a point. But it's like, look, I'm not, this foreign language class, it's not necessarily not helping me. The class that I wanted to be in, I couldn't get in. I didn't like the core. What did they call it? Like, when
core classes?
Well, my core classes, but they make you take these other classes that didn't have anything to do with speech.
The electives.
Yeah, man, I just couldn't get with it. The 8 o'clock, 9 a.m. classes and astrology and stuff like that, I just wasn't into. And it's like, those was the classes that I was either just not going to or just failing. But in regards to my communication classes, I had all A's. And my first year in college, I had 3.9 GPA. But I told my mom then, I'm like, look, I'm not going back to Baltimore. I'll go to the Army before I go back to Baltimore. And she told me, she said, you go back for 1 semester, then you can come back home. And then that's when I came back to Georgia State. I went back for 1 semester. That's when I met Jess. So I feel like everything happened for a reason. So that's in regards to the education part. Yeah. But even after that, so we get into it. I had an edible business. Yeah, I had an edible business. And this is what's interesting. I used to take the edibles to work, and my supervisor, they would buy like payday was really payday for me. So
you getting paid twice.
Exactly. So my supervisor was buying like pans, and I had it was something different. I never really looked at it like, dog, I could get in trouble for this, or dog, like, you know what you're doing. It just was like everyday life, regular part of life for me. And then I'm making brownies, cupcakes, you name it, I can make it from scratch. Yeah.
Baker man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Pressure cakes.
You call them pressure cakes?
Pressure cakes. Yep. Had business cards and everything.
And you were not scared, like, yo, because like
at that time, it definitely not what it is now. Yeah, nah. I wasn't. And check this out. I used to catch the bus to get to work. So I'm moving around. I'm catching the bus to get to work with the pan on me, with everything with me. But at the same time, people just thinking they regular brownies are like
true.
You
You don't think anything of it.
You're not gonna think much of it. So
was this during fatherhood time or
no? This is way. That's why I said, like, you know, in regards to when I was out there in Leavenworth, all I was doing was listening to audiobooks and, you know, watching interviews. That's actually the first time I seen David Shands on YouTube when I was out there in Kansas. Pretty much locked in. It wasn't no TVs out there. So I'm just looking at stuff on my phone, working 2 jobs at the time. I was working at FedEx as well as Social Security. I had a graveyard shift at FedEx, but just trying to stay busy, stay locked in. I really was feeling like I was in jail when I was out there. Really? But I always felt like this is better than jail because, of course, at least I could still call my family when I, like, anytime I wanted to.
For
but
sure.
I'm away from everybody.
So like being away from everybody, what was some things that you felt during those moments? Like, was it like, you know, some times of aloneness, or was it some times of, you know, you just feeling like you couldn't make it? Or what was it like being away from everybody that you've once known into a different life?
To be honest, I was so focused on, like, when I came back home, I was gonna have some information to be able to put people on to. I was always like, nah, when I'm coming back, and when I come, I literally envision or act as if I was in jail. So you know how, like, when sometimes people
wait. You took your life away to Kansas and put yourself in a mental state of jail.
I felt like it was, but I felt like it was like the best place for me because I knew, like, again, every day we was passing the federal penitentiary. That thing bigger than the White House. Every day we passed in the state pen in Kansas. So I was like, I'm blessed in regards to where I'm at. I'm living blessed to be where I am because I know where I could have been initially, just not even thinking. But at the same time, it's like with this information that I'm learning now, when I come back, I'm going to do something great. When I come back, and this is prior to success. Yeah. But I'm like, when I come back, I'm going to do something great. I don't know when I'm going to come back. The plan is to be up here for a year and then be back home within a year. It didn't take, I mean, it wasn't that smooth, but it ended up happening that way. The biggest issue that I had wasn't necessarily like, you know, your friends sometimes not gonna call you. It's the same thing, like people don't pick up the phone, but it's just the distance in regards to the relationship with me and Jessica talking, and, you know, she wishing I was here. Why you leave, go to Kansas City, or why you do this? And it was somewhat on a it wasn't nothing that was super planned. Like I heard about the job. My auntie told me about it. I had worked at Social Security. That was the best job I had initially. That was my first job out of high school. But then I went to Baltimore. So when they offered me a full position, I left. I told them, like, nah, I'm going to school in Baltimore. So they had a government freeze for like 4 or 5 years, and then they opened back up. So at the time, my auntie told me about it. I applied for South Carolina, the state of Washington, Kansas City, and then Kansas City ended up calling me and was like, we need you out here in 2 weeks. And it's like, I ain't never been in Kansas City. I don't know nothing in regards to anything. All I know is an Airbnb that's close. So I'm about to just book this Airbnb here, and I'll figure out the rest later. But I know this is would be a good position for me just to somewhat transition.
Gotcha.
And I can say I was struggling with, you know, being in a fast life. It's like how you go from doing this to now you working for the government.
Yeah.
It's like, but at the same time, I'm not sure if you read this book, and I actually got put on this book by Nipsey Hussle. It's called A Spook. It's Sat by the Door.
Say it again.
It's this. What is it? The Spook by the Door. I think it's by Sam Greenlee. But pretty much it's in regard. They got a book for it too. But Nipsey Hussle was gonna make his final album inspired off of this book. It's about pretty much a CIA agent.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, and you know, they was talking about him. They was calling him Uncle Tom, all this stuff like this. But he was really going in to learn the information to bring it back to his people to start a revolution.
Really?
So I took that role on.
So do you? I'm sorry, to cut you off. Go ahead.
No. So that's somewhat like what I was thinking. I'm like, I'm working for Social Security. That was the only way I could think of to be like, because you working for the government, like, you know, when you moving around, you want to stay away from the courts. You want to stay away from anything that's police or anything like that related. But now I'm literally working in. I got the badge. I'm seeing the president every time I walk in the building. All of that, and it just was like, wow. But I had to think like, how can I make this beneficial, or how can I not look at myself like this?
Yeah.
How can I take the information I'm learning and bring it back to my people to where they can benefit from it?
Do you think with Nipsey doing what he was doing, reading that book, do you think that's part of his passing?
Yeah. I definitely feel like that was, I don't think it was I don't really believe, I ain't gonna say conspiracy, but it's a reason. It's information out here in the world that if people get too powerful and the powers that be don't want you to be letting this information out, I do believe that they'll knock you off, regardless of if it's your brother that do it to you or it's a random person that do it to you. It's just a matter of time. And like me, I was a Nipsey advocate since like I was in 10th grade, 9th grade. Like everybody that knows me would tell you I was probably the only one in the school that when everybody was on that Lil Wayne wave, I was like, nah, Nipsey Hussle. This was before Crenshaw came out. And people used to be like, I mean, he cool, whatever. But this was early on. But I would always say like, Nipsey not no rapper. Like he like a prophet. Like y'all listening to what he actually saying, and then the fact that he would do everything that he said, like that was real big for me. So like I would always listen to him when I was down and or just feeling some type of way about stuff that was going on in life. When I was in high school, I'm listening to Nipsey Hussle, you know, keep your head up and everything in regards to that. So yeah, that's what really helped me in Kansas City.
So let's go back to childhood. What was your childhood like?
My childhood, honestly, me and Jessica always laugh at this because she try and tell me like, oh, you ain't do this, or she be making jokes like, you ain't had cable when you grew up. And I'm like, for one, you don't never know what you talking about. Like, yeah, we did. I'm like, yes, we did. But I didn't have a cell phone. I didn't have a cell phone all throughout high school, but I thought that was normal. Like sometimes I would take my mama's cell phone to high school, and folks used to like laugh, but they just knew I was a jokester anyway. I would tell folks. Sometimes I would take the cordless phone to school just so people be like, oh, you got. I'm like, man, I got a phone too. Yeah. So I mean, growing up in the household when I was young, it was a full household. Dad was staying there, but I don't remember what age. It probably was like around middle school it probably was around middle school. He no longer was living there. So it's just my mom taking care of me and my sister. My oldest two sisters went to college. So mom's like held it down, you know, in the strongest way, you know, and we did have a great support system. My aunts, Miss Janice, like my friends' moms was like my moms. Miss Zoo, like they really took care of me and assisted me as if I was their child. That's why I call them mama now. But I would say it was a time frame. I think it was high school, because I went like two or 3 years. Folks don't know this, but I went like maybe 2 or 3 years. At least it felt that way, without talking to my daddy, not knowing where he was at, and not, you know what I mean? But then, like, when I started playing in high school, started playing basketball in high school, he would call me and ask me about the games and stuff. And I remember back then, I used to be like, somewhat like, wondering why he calling me asking about the games and he wasn't calling. I'm like, well, man, I ain't talked to you in 2 years. Like, like, what you got going on? But, you know, I remember it was like some spite. I had some spite towards him around that time, during that time. But it's funny how as you get older, you know, when I was in Kansas City, my daddy called me every day. And remember, like, wasn't nobody else really calling me. Yeah. All my friends that when we was throwing the barbecues and we was doing this, we having the pool parties and everybody was pulling up, and they wouldn't hit me up, or, you know, I would probably have to reach out to them to see what's going on. And I found out they wasn't even hanging out like that. Like, literally, we was doing stuff every weekend before I left. Because, again, I'm making the cakes. Like, we having functions. We gon' lit backs. That's what we was calling it. Not the kickbacks, it's lit backs. So it was, and we was, I don't know. So our relationship got much stronger during that time. And then, like, that success, favorite person in the world, my daddy. Like, so, you know, we tight, we super tight now. But I remember back then, it's just like, where you go? Like,
has he ever told you where he went?
Nah, I'm gonna get him on the podcast though, and we gonna talk about it. We gonna talk about it. And I didn't even know, like, I did a podcast, or maybe I was just interviewing my mom one time, and she was telling me, like, it was times where she was taking care of me and my sister, and she probably was only making anywhere from like $10 an hour, $12 an hour, and I'm like, what? Yeah, she was doing it though. Like, cause I would have never known. Like, I felt like I wasn't missing out on anything. Like, and that's why I said, Jessica always say, oh, you ain't had this growing up. I'm like, man, I had everything growing up. Cause I really didn't want for nothing. It wasn't nothing that I wanted. Like, literally, I would be at school all the time. Cause I played basketball mainly in high school. In middle school, I played football. Growing up, I was in sports, and my dad put us in sports. So, you know, that's where I could say we had a super big connection, but it was definitely a disconnect once him and my mom got divorced and they like split up. I don't know. I don't know where he was at. I guess trying to get it together, you know. Have
you ever wondered, so what are some of the thoughts going through your mind as, like, you know, you like your pops is gone, now it's just your mom's raising you? Did you feel this type of way as far as, like, you know, manhood, as far as like manhood goes? Because it's like, you know, your pops is there and he's to groom you to be a man, and then he's gone for, he said, 2 to 3 years?
No, so when I say gone, like, didn't talk to him
for 2 to 3 years.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Nothing at all.
Yeah.
So what's going through your mind during this these years?
Again, I'm thinking about basketball. I'm just thinking about playing sport. I wasn't really necessarily thinking about it until he started back calling. Like, when he started back calling, I'm like, what's really going on? Yeah. Like, where you been at? Or why you asking me about the game and how the game went? I don't even want to talk about that. I really don't even want to talk at the time. But, you know, what else was going through my mind? I wouldn't say I was always thinking, oh, I wish he come back or something like that, because it never really just was on me like that. Now, all my friends had their dad stay with them. Like, my best friends, all 3 of them, they dad stayed with them. But I didn't really feel like I was necessarily missing anything. Like I said, a lot of the game and stuff that I learned came through Nipsey Hussle. So
you found an outlet.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I was learning a lot of different stuff in regards to growing up about, you know, you're going to have ups and downs and different things. One, through sports, but also, like, just through music, but specifically, I'm going to say Nipsey Hussle.
Okay.
Because, man, I just remember even, like, being in college, it was rough times. I remember when I was in Baltimore, my freshman year, I ain't know nothing about Baltimore, but I know it wasn't no place for me to necessarily be at. Like, you can't just be walking around in Baltimore.
Yes,
Like,
what was it like coming from the South going to the North?
so
Because you went from Atlanta, which I don't really know what Atlanta was like back then, but you went to Baltimore.
well, and this was what was interesting. I could have went to Albany State and played basketball. I had a couple places I could have played on a scholarship, and I was like, nah, I don't want to go.
You was nice.
Yeah, I said I don't want to go nowhere where somebody know me or I can see somebody around here that I see all the time. So the South was off limits.
Yeah.
And then it was another school that was in Ohio. I'm like, man, I ain't really trying to go out there to Ohio. So it's like DMV, Baltimore, The Wire. It was funny when I went to go get my TB test. The doctor told me, he's like, why you go to Baltimore? He was an Asian doctor. He said, why you go to Baltimore? He said, it's only two good things in Baltimore. He said, the harbor and the Wire. He said, Baltimore not good place. I'm like, what? And I never been there, but I'm going. I'm about to hit it up. So, went there. I feel like the people in Baltimore was great, and even like New York, I met like a whole region of different people that I would have met in the South, and I was the one that somewhat stood out because everybody say, "Oh, you country," or "Oh, you talk like this," or "You talk like that." It's like I hear that when I'm here. Like in Georgia, people tell me I'm country or I talk like this, so that wasn't no issue. But I don't know. I guess I can say I've always been one to say I don't mind going somewhere by myself and I'ma go. Like whether it's going to festivals, Tomorrow World, or going, living in a tree. I can live anywhere. I'm like a chameleon. Yeah. I'm gonna adapt regardless, but I'm smart enough to know like, oh yeah, I got to get up out of here. For sure. Like even with Kansas, after I had 2 run-ins with the law in Kansas, but that was on like some traffic stops type stuff. And for one,
I thought they got you for edibles.
Nah. I wasn't. Nah. I'm so glad because it's like you would have thought they act like I was about to I was robbing a bank or something. The way they pulled me over, brought like 3 cars, and I'm like, oh, I know where I'm at. And at this time, success was born. So I'm like, I was driving Lyft. I'm driving Lyft and Uber like later nights, taking people, just trying to make some extra money while working with Social Security, and like they pulled me over. Cause out there in Kansas, they don't even have like street lights in some parts of the, like it's super dark. I remember it was like 2:30 a.m. and I just dropped somebody off. I'm trying to get home. So I got the bright lights on cause it's deers that be running through there all the time. So I got the bright lights on. Cop pulled me. I didn't even see the cop. They was way down the road. Pulled me over while I was about to get on the highway. And they was like, something about you can't be driving with your bright lights on. I'm like, ain't nobody on the street. He said, yeah, but I seen your bright lights when you was turning. And I'm like, where was you at? And I'm like, okay. And then on the ticket it said failure to dim, but then he asked me like, so you been drinking, boy? And I'm like, oh, here we go. I'm like, nah, I ain't been drinking. So what you feeling
like? Because if a white man call me boy, I'm feeling type of way.
Well, so again, I'm thinking like, let me get back home to my son. That's my whole, because I know where I'm at.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I always would say this to anybody, like, you got to know your surroundings and know when other folks got the upper hand. Sometimes it's better to just relax and get home safe rather than, because, he called a whole nother cop pulled up. And they had me do a alcohol test, and they had me count to like 30, doing all odd numbers. No, they didn't make me walk. But then they asked me something about did I have any drugs or something about alcohol and what's my highest level of education and just all these different questions. I'm like, what they got to do with anything? I'm like, and you said you pulled me over for failure to dim, not for speed and not for running. And I didn't even think that was something that you could literally write me a ticket for.
Yeah.
But I'm like, nah, let me get out. I'm just trying to go home. It was at a point where whatever they was asking me, I was telling them, I'm just trying to go home, bro. I'm just trying to get home. I ain't got no issues. I'm just trying to get home. And one of the cops was cool. The second one that came over was kind of cool. That first one, he was itching. Like you could tell.
He trying to push that button.
That's the one that was on the boy stuff. And what's your highest level of education? I'm like, what that got to do with anything? But I'm happy to be back safe or be back home. Or I made it home. I remember when I got home. I think when I finally got in the car, I probably was so mad. I don't even remember if I shed tears, but I was just mad because I'm like, bro, I gotta get out of here. Like I gotta get out of Kansas because this ain't no place for me to be. Like that's a situation that could have went ugly. And this was prior to the George Floyd incident. This was before George Floyd or any of this. But I know where I'm at. Like literally, it was no like they could have did whatever they wanted to do with me out there for real. And because it was no cars.
So you would call that something like a sundown town?
Yeah, for sure. Because I wasn't in Kansas City, Kansas. At that time, again, I'm driving Lyft. So wherever they taking me, wherever I got to drop them off to, that's where I'm going. And I don't even remember where I was at, but all I know, it was no lights. It was no street lights out there. And I'm like, look, I was probably like 45 minutes or 40 minutes out of the way. I'm just trying to get home. It's already late. That was my last ride. But everything happened for a reason, and that's what kind of like put the pressure on. Like, all right, look, I don't care what happened, I got to get back. I got like 2 or 3 months to get back because the whole plan was already originally to come back. But after that was my second time getting a ticket for some bull. The first time they was like trying to tell me because I had a Georgia driver's license, they could take me to jail.
What?
Yeah, they was like, well, how long you been in Kansas? I said, I work for the Social Security Administration. I've been here since October. And I don't remember what month it was. They was like, well, you know it's against state law if you don't have a Kansas ID or if you don't have whatever ID. And I'm like, nah, I didn't know that. And then they asked you, have you been drinking? I'm like, why you pulled me over, officer? They was like, well, it was a stop sign back there. I'm like, man, I know it was a stop sign. That's because I stopped. But it's just like, I'm like, let me just get home. I'm just trying to get home because in that situation, you really don't have no upper hand, especially knowing where I'm at. Because it's like, if I get in a jam, other than calling Jessica, who I'm going to call, like, it ain't nothing that I can necessarily do. And I remember if I would have still been out there, by the time it was for me to go to court for the tickets, I was already back home. I was already back in Atlanta because I was like, nah, I'm not even going to. I ended up having to pay those tickets. And I was pissed about that because I thought both of them was bull. But
absolutely.
And the job wasn't trying to let me go. Like, they wasn't trying to transfer me.
Really?
Man, that was what was difficult. Like, I was trying to get home and they was like, nah, we had to come up with all type of stuff. And then just to go back on your question in regards to getting prepared, like that postpartum, the anxiety of being by yourself and us just being not around the type of love that you would want to be around when you having a child, it was difficult. Like being in the freezing cold, we been down here. Jess had been down here for 5 years, so to be, even though she from Maryland, Kansas City cold is a different type of cold in that Midwest. So it's like not having no friends. It was a tad, like, I feel like we had to go in the mode, or I had to go in the mode where it's like, okay, gotta level up in regards to my knowledge. I can't keep doing the same things that I've been doing. You know, I'm blessed to be where I am today and be as free as I am. But, you know, it just was difficult, bro. It was just, I don't know. I wouldn't wish that on nobody.
Let's speak to some of those difficulties.
Mainly, like I said, it was more so even when Jessica would ask me, like, why is we out here?
Yeah.
Like, why is we, and I'm like, cause you know, I never been the one big on a job.
Right.
Like, it's like, well, we gonna be coming, we gonna be moving. When is we going back? Like, when is we going? I want to be around my friends. I want to be around, you know, man, I'm like, soon. But the job is playing. The job is playing around with me. So they was not trying to let me go. We had to get like doctor's notice and all type of stuff signed off. And by the grace of God, they finally, and they sent me back on a temporary notice. So like, it's interesting because we always was playing chess when they was playing checkers. They thought I was coming back. I knew it was over with.
For sure.
Like, not the job was over with, but I knew I wasn't coming back. They sent me down here on 60 days to come back up there. And I'm like, nah, that's all I needed to hear. 60 days. We initially moved back. Jessica and Success came back maybe a week before me, and we were staying with my moms. And I remember that was like the hardest 9 days I probably gonna never had. Just being away from that was my first time ever being away from success. Since the time I was the first one he seen when he was born, up until now, like it's rare that he might spend a day or so with my mom, but most of the time, you know, he always with us,
sure.
or he always with me, always. Even when I'm traveling, handling business. That's why I felt like it's like I gotta build a life and business around a whole brand around being a parent, because I know the importance of, you know, I don't never want him to go asking where was you at, you know, what happened then. So I just taking accountability, things that I grew up with as well as things that Jessica grew up, you know, in her past, and people that I met through Social Security. Like I told you prior, before we started filming, I met so many people that was like homeless, that was young or older, that was having mental disabilities, and I would ask them. It's funny because the people that act crazy ain't the ones that's diagnosed with nothing. Now that don't mean nothing, but a lot of times they be acting. The ones that really was cool. Like you could have a conversation with them and everything. They would come in the Social Security office and just be chilling, but you knew they could snap on you if they wanted to. But mainly, it was always a good conversation. Like sometimes they enlighten me. So you can't ever really judge a book by its cover, because you don't never know what somebody gonna went through. So the mind state of other individuals, whether they were young or old, I met so many different people that had to, you know, bear losing a child or losing a spouse, and now they coming in trying to get survivor, but they trying to put their life back together, you know. So it's like, and I did this was like 26, so most people at my age don't really be thinking about nothing like that. I felt like I was in a situation where I was able to be grateful. That made me, working at Social Security made me grateful for the position I was in, living in the trailer, so that's why I was like, you know what, when I come back, I'm gonna have a lot of information, I'm gonna put something together. Or I was always saying, like, I'm gonna do this for my people, like we gonna do this. I always was a team. It was always a team effort, not never like trying to put myself, or I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. It was always, I want to make the team win. So yeah, Social Security was a blessing, just because I never thought, I ain't know nothing about Medicare. I didn't know nothing about disability. I was never thinking about, you know, I was never thinking about even people our age think they gonna live forever, or they think they spouse or whoever they date ain't gonna live forever. It's like, you want to make sure that you taken care of regardless. You want to make sure that you learning. So if the person that you dependent on, if the person that's your rock leave, you gonna be all right. Because I met a lot of individuals that wasn't all right. Whether it was a husband that relied on his wife to do everything from cook to even handle all the bills. Like, of course, he might have been making the money, but she was handling the finances. Now she gone and he don't know how to do nothing. And he just like in shambles. Or vice versa. The wife was dependent on the husband. Now he gone. He made all the money. Now she got to figure out like what it is that she's supposed to do.
So let me ask you this: going through all of that, it sounds like a mental strain. Like I feel to hear all the, you know, people dying and the mental illnesses and stuff like that. Like, how would you deal with that mentally?
For me, it just gave me more gratitude. But one thing I heard, or you know, Jess would always tell me, you got to have more empathy for the ones around you, because it's like, you know, when you feel like your friends or other folks family members is complaining, rather than when you just seen somebody right across from you that's like really going through it. And I would always try and I can tell you a story about somebody that's really going through it. Yeah, we going through tough times, or we going through hard times. I would always say I've always been pretty mentally strong through whatever situation I was in. Like, even when I'm super down, don't have nothing, I always know it's gonna turn around. I always know it's just temporary. Like, and I don't know where that came from. It might just come from listening to Nipsey Hussle so much. I would say my mom instilled that in me, because again, when we was making the best out of everything. So But mentally stressful after a while, it definitely did. Especially when I came back to Atlanta working, you know, when COVID hit and now we gotta sit in the house and I gotta be on the phone with these people and they just going every day. Every day is mentally stressful. I remember every time I was about to clock in, my stomach started hurt. And I'm like, my supervisor used to always ask, it seemed like you going to the bathroom right before you about to clock in. I'm like, yeah, because I would come back, I would clock in maybe like 5-10 minutes late. I'm like, yeah, I don't know what's going on. And then she was like, maybe it got something, or somebody said something to me like, maybe it got something to do with anxiety. I'm like, yeah, that might be it, or stress. And I used to always say like, man, it's a nice day outside. I wish I could take success to the park. Like, I wish I could do this, and I don't want to be here right now. Like, so once I was able to break free and be like, you know what, that's exactly what I'm gonna do. So I'm always grateful for the position that I'm in, even when things is not looking up. Like when I'm able to just spend time with success, because I'm like, man, it's a lot of people right now that's want to be here, want to be doing this, whether they want to see their child and don't have the opportunity to, or a child might be looking for their parents and their parents ain't around for whatever reason. Their parents might have passed, or, you know, I'm always super grateful because I just know things can always be a lot worse than what it currently is. We literally live in blessed. Even at our worst times, we live in blessed. We just got to tweak a few things to get that breakthrough. That's how I always look at it.
Hey, man. That's a great way to look at it.
Yeah.
Because you think in your situation, because during the pandemic, I was working for the state as well at DFAX, and that was like the most stressful time of my life. Like, to the point where I just stopped caring. I stopped caring about the job. I stopped caring about the clients. I stopped caring about everything. I mean, parents calling me, snapping off. I mean, typically I'm just like, all right, I'm gonna let you go. I mean, I'm snapping back off at parents. And at that moment I said, yo, Joe, it's time to go. When did you know it was your time to go?
I'm so glad you asked this question. Bro, listen. So when the pandemic happened, I felt like it was a blessing because, again, we had already went through it in Kansas. So now I obviously physically was catching the bus, going to work. But literally, other than that, we was always inside. And then they have snow days and stuff. So we wasn't doing nothing out there. But I knew it was time to go. Once COVID hit and we working from home, bro, I would say at least for like 6 months straight, I would clock in. I hope ain't nobody from Social Security watching this. I would clock in and roll over. Like I think we might have had a morning meeting or something, but we didn't have to show our cameras. I might type a message or something like good morning, whatever. Man, I would roll. I would at least sleep for like 3 or 4 hours when I was supposed to be on the phone for like 6 months straight. So it's a whole. It was like, you know what, you know, I'm still in time. I'm still in time from these folks. I gotta go ahead and go before they get rid of me. But at the same time, like when I was working, I was working.
Right.
But I remember one time, I don't even know what I was like. Man, I'm tired of being. I just got up, walked to the store to go get some gum in the middle while I was supposed to have been on the clock taking calls.
Oh, you were
bro. It was over with. Like I just already knew. I'm here. I'm clocking in. But they would have never thought that. And then it ended up being a blessing because I think like 3 months into COVID, they was trying to. I had finally got the permanent position. So I had already got the permanent position, but now COVID hit. Now I got to do training because now I'm working in the field office. Before I was at the national, so I was on the hotline when they was calling in. Now I was seeing people face to face, but I got to learn different things working through the field office because they move a little different. But that training, bro, when I tell you I was trying to rush through that training because I was sleeping for like the first 4 hours every day for like 4 to 6 months. Just because I'm like, that's when I knew it was time to go. I was already saying prior to COVID, probably like, nah, I got to do something else. But Yeah, I was not about to be on the phones for 8 hours. And even though that they had me on training, I literally only had to be on the phones maybe like 3 hours during the training. I had to get my naps in, or that's when I was, studying credit, working on. I was doing 2 things at one time, or sometimes when I was just fed up, it's like, you know what, let's go to the store. Let's go. When I tell you, sometimes I can just be rebellious at times.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Where do you think that comes from?
I know what happened. So around the time when the George Floyd incident happened,
Mm-hmm.
my office 95% African American. Like my managers, supervisor, everything African American, pretty much in downtown Atlanta Social Security office.
Mm.
I remember, and then they was actually doing the protests and all the stuff was going on right outside of our office downtown.
Yeah.
So I remember, I'm thinking they was gonna say something that just, like, once COVID first hit, they used to always check on us. Hey, we just want to see how you doing mentally, make sure everybody doing okay. When the George Floyd incident happened, they didn't say nothing. 2 weeks went by, and I'm like, 95% of us is black, and y'all not mentioning nothing? Like, what is going on? But I know the powers that be probably told them that they can't say nothing on it. But that's when I'm like, man, you gotta look in the mirror every day. If you can't speak on it, or you can't check, you ain't even reaching out to see if I'm all right or if somebody else is okay, because these are stressful times, and obviously the people is calling the government on that. Like, now they really mad.
Oh, for sure.
So we taking the brute, force of it.
Mm-hmm.
Once that happened, I realized, like, oh, nah, they not in no type of control, or they choosing a job over just being human. I was like, it's whatever now. So yep.
So you made the transition out. Were you scared?
I wouldn't even say that I was scared. I think about it more now, because I can't say that I ain't never thought about not going back to Social Security, but going back to work. I wouldn't say that, because at the end of the day, as a parent, you got to do what you got to do, especially if business might be moving slow. You got to transition, pivot, do whatever you got to do to make sure that you're not putting your family in the worst case scenario just because you want to be an entrepreneur. You an entrepreneur, but business is slow. Like, bills and stuff do not stop.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't even say that I was. Yeah, I would say that. I would say that, because I remember 2 weeks prior, I told my team, I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna leave this job, and it was like a run-on joke. I was telling people, because they thought I was on vacation.
Yeah.
And I said I quit my job. They just don't know it yet. And I was telling people that, and they was laughing. I'm like, no, I'm not going back. I went to Miami. We flew to Miami for an event. After that, came back. I think I got on a call because I told my supervisor. I had one call, and they was, I don't know, I don't remember what the caller said to me or what he was mad about, but he was just going in about something. And I'm like, man, I ain't got to take this stuff. So I sent my supervisor a message like, look, I'm getting off the phones right now. I need the next 2 days off. No, actually, this is before Miami. Mm-hmm. So I already had 2 days off for Thursday and Friday. Yeah. But I told her I need the next 2 days off. I need the next 2 days off, or I'm gonna resign right now. And she was like, wait. Let's get on the call. Let's get on the phone. She talked to me for like 2 hours. She said, well, you know what? And then again, she said this, and I like Miss Miller. She was good to me, but she was like, I'm gonna give you the next day off. And then you come back on Wednesday, and hopefully you'll be you relaxed, and because I know you got a family, you don't want to. But she didn't know nothing that I had going on, or she didn't know anything in regards to my credit bills and nothing like that. But she was like, you don't want to just leave the job. You do great here, so I'm gonna give you tomorrow off, and you just come back on Wednesday. I said, all right. I said I was having the next 2 days off. So Tuesday, and I had Wednesday off. When I put in the time sheet, I put in 16 hours instead of 8. So I said, whether she approved it or not, I told her I was taking them 2 days off, and I knew I had the other 2 days already off. Went to Miami. We had a great time. Came back. I think they was checking on me, trying to see if I was good. Like, nah, I still feel the same way. It was like, well, maybe you can have what is it, FMLA?
Oh, yes,
maybe
sir.
you can do the FMLA, where you can take some time off. Or I'm like, is it paid? So I end up looking to see how much time that I had left. All right, let's schedule that. So I'm just milking them at this point because I had told them 2 weeks prior, like, nah, I quit my job. They just don't know it yet. So then they just couldn't believe, they didn't know why would you leave? And I'm like, nah, just the mental stress. My stomach ain't, and that's when I know, I said, my stomach ain't hurt in 2 weeks. Like I've been enjoying it. Business is booming, and then it got to a point where I couldn't juggle both at the same time while I'm trying to work the job, then trying to deal with the client. I didn't have the systems in place, so it was much harder. A lot of
hands-on stuff.
Everything was hands-on. So it's like, you know what? Nah, I'm good. And for the life of me, they was just like, they couldn't believe it, because mostly everybody at Social Security gonna been there 15, 20 years. And then even the HR person told me, if you gonna been here over 3 years now, because I was going on my 4th year, they say after 3 years you pretty much good. Like, you gonna have to do something crazy to get fired, like for us to get rid of you. Like, you young. I was one of the youngest ones there. Like, they was thinking I was gonna be there like 20, 25 years and move up and all of that. But I'm like, nah, this not my passion. I'm appreciative for everything, everybody that I met. I still talk to quite a few of them that I because they might have been entrepreneurs, or they wasn't what I would call, they thought outside the box as well. Those that wanted to leave the job, still might be working there right now, but still got aspirations to leave. I was just the one that told them I was gonna do it and end up doing it. For sure. And then they was like, I respect that, and they gave me well wishes and always checking on me and vice versa. So I'm very appreciative. I feel like you get put in different situations for a reason. Sometimes you might not know the reason, but looking back at it, I feel like Social Security saved me. Being in Kansas saved me. Jessica would tell you, Kansas was the worst experience ever. Like, really? Just being out, just being out there. Like, what's the worst ever? She wished she didn't go to Kansas. Like, why? She's like, we came right back here. Like, but for me, mentally, just on the way that I was moving, it was the best thing that could have happened to me, for real. Like, sometimes you gotta sit down, slow down, and then it started to come together. And then you start to really map out a plan. And YouTube, different courses. That's when, I wouldn't be right here if I wasn't. I feel like if that didn't happen. So, that was it for me.
So what's the business now?
Now, in regards to financial literacy, I help people with funding. I help them repair their credit. I also have a course. Well, the course hasn't dropped yet. I don't know when this will be dropping, because the course will be dropping within the next 2 weeks. Credit Success. It's a credit repair course that it's going to teach you everything from the basics to credit mastery. And when I talk about credit mastery, that's in regards to USC codes. Right now, the one thing I love about credit is you always got to be studying, especially when you studying the law. Like, it's always something new to learn. Like, right now I'm learning in regards to how to remove utilization, because that's a whole different game changer. Imagine you got $50,000 in credit card debt.
Slow down. Yeah. You don't learn to remove utilization.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this credit stuff real quick.
Yes, sir.
Let's really get into it. I got some questions.
Absolutely. I got some questions too. Not even questions. It's just like, I would say this. I didn't suffer from imposter syndrome because I knew how to do credit. And I did my own, Jessica's, and my sister's way before I even jumped out there. So I joined this organization, and it was like a financial literacy organization. A lot of people had questions. It was over 1,000 people. I had all the answers. That's when I realized, like, oh, I can really help other folks. For sure. Because I know this information. I already done it. But it's just, and it might be different industries like this as well, but it's so many people that will hear something and then they take it and then try and teach on it or try and speak on it without even doing it, or just they only got bits and pieces of it. And it's like, it's just bad on it. It hurt the whole industry. So, like, I never wanted to be boxed in as, oh, I do credit repair, or, oh, I do this, or I just do this. That's why, whether it's the Birth of Success podcast, or it's Success Don't Sleep, or is iCredit Success, or it's called IC Success Solutions. That's the name of my business. Success is the center of everything. So my niche or my audience is parentpreneurs or parents, that's trying to pivot, that's trying to learn, to get their foundation back in order. Last year, I was able to assist a lot of entrepreneurs in regards to getting funding, obtaining funding, whether it's personal funding, business funding. My sister, you know, Jamila, she actually we was able to get her like 78. She got 77,000, and now she got a food truck on the way. Like literally, it's being wrapped. She is in the process of So we just waiting on it.
Okay.
And her whole goal initially was to get the food. Like she'd always say, "I want the food truck." Like even back the summers when we was doing our thing, food truck was the goal. But it's like, how do you get the food truck? So because I had studied the information, I knew what to do. I'm happy that we able to do that, and y'all gonna see that Mila's cupcakes on wheels, sweets on wheels, coming real soon. Right now it's like a custom truck. She's able to get built out, so it take like 3 to 6 months. But she's one of the very many we've been able to get funded. But my thing that I realized this year is I'm more passionate about clients that's able to get homes, close on homes. So like even in the month of December and January, I had 4 clients that was that I worked on their credit previously. They got homes, and obviously being a family person myself, I'm big on family, and I know that's the foundation of everything.
For sure.
So or home ownership is the foundation of everything. So I kind of pivot from just working with entrepreneurs in regards to funding, and now I'm partnering more with realtors and brokers, loan officers, to assist people that need to get their score boosted or get things removed so they can close on homes. That's like what my vision this year. I'm trying to help 200 families close. So I can only do that by having, partners, affiliate partners, referrals from different realtors, brokers, loan officers. I'm even reaching out to people that own that do plastic surgery. Not plastic surgery. I mean, I said loan officers. Now, I actually have helped somebody that wanted plastic surgery. They needed their care credit. But loan officers, realtors, is somebody else that I've been reaching out to. Realtors, real estate agents, loan officers, brokers, really anybody that's in the real estate industry, they have the clientele that I'm necessarily looking for.
It makes sense.
Because before, it's like, with credit, we know it's the foundation of everything. Everybody know the importance of it, but some people will just like shrug it off until they actually need it. When they need it, their car break down. Now I'm trying to get a car. Now I need to, man, I wish my credit was fixed, but at the same time, I gotta get a car or transportation. We need the transportation. Or what's another reason folks always may necessarily need credit? Their child might be living in an environment that's not best suitable for their child, whether it's outside or the school system. However, they can't really move because their credit ain't in the right place. Right. Not necessarily just to even move into a home, but rent an apartment. Yeah, just go to a better part of the city. They not able to do so due to their credit. So it's like when I find people in those positions, those are the people that I like to reach out to and help. And I know a lot of people, for some reason, they're afraid to ask for help.
Yeah, for sure.
I used to tell my friends all the time, and it's crazy. Like, it's still a lot of my friends that still ain't reached out. And I used to hit them up and tell them I do it for free. Like, look, bro, show whatever you got on there. Because I'm thinking like, look, I can get you 100,000. I can get you 100,000 in funding. I know what you got going on, so I can help you. But first, we need to make sure that your credit is A1. Because if it's already A1, then why we not getting no funding? I don't understand. Like, it's not making sense to me. But I think sometimes it's more so pride. Folks got a lot of pride. Folks got I don't know. I don't know what it is in regards to some folks might be scared, but they know me. Like, my people know me, so I don't know what it is. Like, some people just lazy. Some people just be like, it is what it is. It's true. But ask me your question you had for me in regards to the credit.
So it's just like, with the credit situation, it's like people really don't understand the importance of credit. How do you, because you're big on the whole parent side of things. Yeah. How do you stress that to, the importance to parents about, why their credit should be good, not just for them, but for their kids?
Absolutely. Well, for one, we always envision or want to give our children the best life possible, and we want to put them in positions where it's a win-win.
Yeah.
So whether it's going out of high school, as soon as they leave high school, now they have an 800 credit score instead of them having to, whether they go to college or not, whatever it is that they may want to do, if it's they want to live on their own, now they can actually purchase a home because their credit is in place because you had them as an authorized user. You've been building their credit up. You've been teaching them things in regards to credit while they was growing up. That's one of the main reasons that has triggered me in regards to creating financial literacy flash, so we can teach them young. Because early on, I can't, and my mom would tell you, like, she didn't have as much knowledge towards the credit. She would always, she knows to make sure her credit is strong, but she couldn't tell you how to build it. She couldn't tell you, she'd say 30% utilization or lower, not keep it at 10%. Less than 10% is actually going to make a stronger impact on your credit score than 30%. 30 not going to really hurt you, but it ain't going to really help you neither. So it's like things that I had to learn through trial and error and just figuring it out. Again, me being on my own, us living on our own early, I had a couple credit cards and burned them. Like spending on rent, spending on vacation, stuff like that, burn them. But then being able to remove, like once I was able to remove the collections and things like that, I'm like, okay, I'm starting to understand this. But then able to do it for Jessica and then able to do it for my sister, able to do it for my other sister. I'm like, okay. But still at that time, I was never really thinking, you know, make a business out of it. But I just thought about, remember when I was in Kansas City, I said, whatever information I learn, I'm going to come back and impact my people one way or another. And then after reaching out to my friends, it's like, all right, well, if they don't want the help, it was strangers that was reaching out to me that was asking for it. So it's like, all right, I don't mind helping. Like I would always say anybody that's about to start a business, and people always say, don't look at your family, don't look at your friends to be the main one, because you always think like, I grew up with these people, like they know me, they see what I got going on, they gonna be my number one supporter
for sure.
But it don't be working out like that. Gotcha. Strangers, you gotta go to the people that actually need your help. So that's why you want to be one of the best, and that's why I say I'm always learning. Like I'm good in regards to where I'm at. I can remove anything, but people not really talking about removing utilization and things of that nature, like auto loans, not the ones that's repos, but like your current auto loan, getting them up off of there, like mortgages. Like it's all kind of tricks and stuff, things you can do in regards to credit. Yeah, that's all legal because it's law. Because that's what you use. You using the law. You're not doing no type of hacks or nothing like that. Now they have hacks that be going on, but those run out. And usually when those run out, those people fade away. Like they catch on to something, they figure out how to do it, they run it up, and then they disappear. And that make it bad for people that's in my position that's really doing it, because I get so many clients that say, or, you know, prospects, I was burned by this person before, or, you know, I went to this person and this happened. And I'm like, man, I'm sorry to hear that, but, you know, I can just tell you what we gonna do different, but at the same time, people gotta want it. You can't want it for others more than they want it for themselves.
For sure. All right, so we're gonna do a quick commercial, man. I just want you to wrap it up, man, and let everybody know where they can find you. Okay. And I want you to close us out with something.
I should show the flash.
Oh, you got them with you?
Yeah, you know I always got these things.
Oh, is it dope?
Yeah, I'm getting some bigger boxes, but they don't come in a Friday. And then I'm gonna have a QR code on the boxes. So like what I want to do is either have them like in a school setting, or like where teachers could have them with the entire, you can pull them out. Look, teachers can have them with the entire classroom, and then if a parent or somebody wanted to purchase them for themselves, they'll be able to do the QR code and pull them right to the website, and they can purchase and get them.
These are really dope.
Yeah, Jess, look, man, Jess be doing it all. She didn't do the I had my graphic designer in regards to logo. I came up with the words and the definitions, but just found the actual physical cards, because at first it was just digital products. But I'm like, you know, you want to interact. Yeah, you gotta have something tangible, and them not the paper cards that you can like little rip up or nothing like that. And it's real stuff that I call them life lesson cards, because it's not nothing in regards to. It's not just flashcards. It's stuff that you gonna need to learn in life.
For sure.
Like save emergency funds. I put some upper words in there like fintech banks and stuff like that. But you want your child to know about growth, the difference between needs and wants.
Yeah.
Things of that nature.
This is lit. I wish I had this as a kid for sure.
But again, everything I come up with it just based off watching success. Even the digital flashcards, he started getting on that tablet all the time, and I'm like, all right, if you gonna be on that tablet, I gotta create something so it can be you learning on that tablet. Not saying that he not learning on there, but I just like, okay, if you on that tablet, other kids on their tablets too.
Yeah.
So how can we create something? So I started with the digital, but I'm like, nah, we need the tangible. And that's why initially I said I wanted to wait till come on the podcast till I had the actual cards. It took a little minute for us to get the cards, but we loaded up now. All
right. So this episode is sponsored by the Embolden Institute, the only text line that I know that's sending out daily text messages of words of affirmation and encouragement. Text me 404-476-6780. That's 404-476-6780. You can text me the word affirmation to be on the affirmation crew, or you can text me the word heal to be on the Healers Club, where we're sending out messages of encouragement, positive vibes, and good energy. Sevon, man, close us out, brother, and appreciate you coming through.
Yes, sir. Message to all the parents out there. You're doing a great job. Whatever situation you in currently, just know you more than enough. A lot of us sometimes have doubts. We have fear. It's a lot of mental anxiety, a lot of things going on in the world. We don't know which way is up. But just know you're doing the best that you can, and you're doing more than enough. Continue going, and always know that pain is only temporary. Mental anxiety, that can only be temporary. Things gonna be better. Sometimes you gotta break down before you get your breakthrough.
Oh man, you closed it out solid, brother. Yes, appreciate you, man. Listen, that's another episode of Living Blessed, the podcast. We are out. Peace.